Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Brittany for those of you that don't know. Today I'm coming to you with a little bit more serious video than I've done so far. As I told you in my very first video, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my history with PCOS and some of the side effects that causes, because some people are very uneducated on PCOS, and sometimes the lack of knowledge that they have makes them come off as inconsiderate, rude, and just flat out irritating to people who go through it every day. PCOS, for those of you that don't know, stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. So most people that know the whole name just automatically assume that the only thing that you deal with is cysts. And if only it were that easy. So they just look at you like, oh, why don't you just go to the doctor and they have them removed and then you'll just be all better. And that's not how it works. Cysts are only a drop in the hat of the issues that are followed with PCOS. Of course you do have it. Obviously the name came from somewhere. But in this video I want to touch a little bit on my story. I was diagnosed when I was in middle school, so I've had this follow me pretty much the majority of my life. So I definitely want to start with just a little bit of my story, but I also want to touch on other side effects that you have from polycystic ovarian syndrome, just to help educate a little bit. I think it's time that we speak up loud and clear and let people know that there is a group of women out there that suffers with more than just a few cysts. It affects us mentally, physically, emotionally. It's a horrible thing to have to deal with. It really consumes your life, and it makes it even harder when people just look at you like, oh, just go to the doctor and they'll fix you. First off, polycystic ovarian syndrome does not have a cure. They have some things that'll help with some of the side effects, medicines or treatments or whatever, but it's incurable. Once you have it for life. There's things to manage, you know, certain things that come along with PCOS, and other things you just kind of have to deal with the hand that you've been dealt, and that really sucks. And I want everybody to know that it sucks, because you feel almost alone in this world when people look at you like you're crazy and like you're just complaining, and there's a reason to be complaining, I promise. So like I said, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my story. Also, I want to touch base just a little bit on some of the other side effects. I don't want this to end up being like a 3-hour long video, so I will not go into everything, because it's a lot more than people who are unaware what PCOS is aware of. So I'm going to end up doing multiple videos on this periodically. It's not all going to be at like one time. I'm not saying I'm going to do one today and then follow up tomorrow or anything like that. But just as I'm feeling like I need to say something, I'll just continue on. But today we're just going to kind of do a little summary, I guess we'll call it. Just to try and save on time, because I don't want to bore you guys to death, because I don't want you to feel like you're sitting in a seminar or something and you're stuck there and you have to listen to me yammer on about some disease and, you know, oh, woe is me kind of stuff. That's not what I want, but I do think that it's good that we talk about things that we're going through. I think it's good to educate people so that they understand why you're feeling the way that you feel. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So let's rewind a little bit all the way back to when I was in middle school, so like early 2000s. You know, I was having a lot of issues with cramping and irregular spotting, and my cycle wasn't necessarily super irregular, but it was definitely not like an every 28 day kind of thing, so it was slightly off. And when I say cramps, though, I mean like double over, in absolute pain, crying your eyes out, can't breathe kind of deal, to the point that you end up with a major migraine headache, you know, kind of thing. And you know, it was just awful. And then I was also feeling like very anxious all the time, especially when I was having the cramping and stuff. It was just like you felt so anxious, and nothing that I could do would help. You know, I try to, you know, take my mind off of it by watching a movie or going outside and doing something with my sisters, or, you know, getting in a bubble bath, or, you know, whatever I could think of to try and make myself feel just a little bit better. And the anxiety just never went away. And, you know, my mom had kind of watched me go through this, and I finally sat down with her and I was like, something's got to give, because I feel like I'm dying most days when it gets like this. So we finally started going to see doctors. I went from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor. I mean, it was just passed through because they didn't know what was going on. I had blood work done all the time, and I'm anemic as well, so that would always be so draining. I'd be so exhausted afterwards, and I walked around with bruises all up and down my arms because they would blow out veins, because my veins are also very tiny. So I looked like a junkie or something half the time because my arms were just bruised up so bad, which hurt too. So I'm having to deal with the initial pain for my cramping and stuff, and then my arms are sore too. And the doctors would just say, there's nothing wrong with her. There's nothing wrong. She just is making up stuff to get out of school, was one thing. Yeah, she just don't want to go to school, so she's faking like deathly pains to get out of class. And then there was also some that was like, oh, well, she's just young. She's just now starting her cycle. She's not used to it. Once she adjusts, it'll be better, because it's just, this is normal. And I looked at them and I was like, I understand that this is not supposed to be a comfortable process, but if this is how everybody feels, then I'm surprised that there's any women left on this earth, because at that point I was done. You guys, I was flat done. I was in so much pain. I could have cared less if I lived or died, honestly. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but that's how I felt. And it just made it worse to hear all these doctors and nurses tell me that I was lying, or I was making it up, or whatever. It was awful. It was an awful feeling. So this anxiety that had already started in me got even worse. It got to the point that I was so depressed, like I said, I didn't care what happened to me at all. I really didn't. I sat in my floor of my bedroom crying so many times I can't even count. My mom sat there on the floor with me, not knowing what to do, crying herself because she was so scared for me. I can't tell you how many times that there was nights that I didn't think I was going to make it through, because I was either in so much pain, or I was so upset, or depression had just swallowed me whole. It's a tough thing to deal with, and I'll get to that, the depression and anxiety, a little bit more in just a minute. Finally, I found a nurse practitioner that finally recommended me to a specialist that was in Abingdon. They were like, okay, well, this is signs of something called PCOS. Normally, it doesn't affect younger girls like this, but it sounds like you may potentially have it. So they got mom to consent for me having an ultrasound where I was so young, and as soon as they tested, they knew immediately that I had cysts, because one side I had 3 golf ball sized cysts on it. The other ovary had multiple just little tiny dots, but they said it was absolutely covered. So they were like, yeah, us seeing this in our imaging definitely confirms that you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. They also did more in-depth blood testing than most other doctors had done, and all my levels and stuff came back, you know, within what PCOS would have. So we had to go forward from there. And they actually were a little upset that everybody had just pushed me off for so long. They're like, yeah, it doesn't happen a lot for younger women, but it can. And, you know, you came in, you told us exactly how you felt, your exact symptoms. And just from hearing what you're saying, we knew that that was probably what you had. And so that made us a little upset, because we had been in and out of doctors for 2 years, 6th and 7th grade year, in and out, in and out, in and out. And it was literally the beginning of my 8th grade year before I was diagnosed. And I probably had a doctor's appointment every other month up until that point. It was insane. And if anybody knows me, I do not do doctors at all. I'm terrified to even go in a waiting room with someone else who's got an appointment. I can go with my sisters knowing that it's their appointment, not mine, and I'm still sitting there like sweating, shaking, panicking. So it was torture. It was flat out torture for me for almost 2.5 years. It was just awful. So at that point, they ended up putting me on birth control, which was a hard pill to swallow at that point in time, because I was like, I don't need birth control. I'm not doing anything to prevent birth, you know. But it was basically to level out some of my hormones. So we did that, and it helped a little bit, but it did not help with my anxiety and depression. And that is a major side effect of PCOS, and a lot of people do not know that. And it's something that needs to be known. Someone with PCOS is probably suffering with anxiety and depression to some extent. With me, it was bad. It was, and it still sometimes is. But in middle school, I just didn't have the coping tools. I didn't know how to manage my feelings at all. So it always ended up with me either being so sad that I was done with life, or that I was so mad that I would fight anybody coming and going. It didn't matter who you was. A lot of people, when I tell them this, does not believe that, because they're like, you're so happy and perky and social, and I was not like that. In middle school, I was not like that. I was backward, I was awkward, I was hateful, I was grumpy, I was all of these things, and in the back of my mind, I was just thinking, it's not worth it. And it's really sad that there's so many girls, young girls, that still go through this. And they go through the same thing that I go through, and doctors will not diagnose them with the proper thing. It's time that our doctors step up and start diagnosing these children better. It's not good for them to go and diagnose, especially with like depression. You know, I know you all have seen there's been more and more suicides lately. And it just sometimes comes to your mind, like, what about if they had been misdiagnosed? Or what about if their parents missed something and they could have taken them to the doctor? Pay attention to your kids, because it doesn't matter if they're smiling to your face. If they're sitting at home struggling, someone needs to know, and somebody needs to do something. And I know it's hard. I'm not judging anybody whatsoever, because I hit it a lot. But just try your best to pay attention, because these happy kids sometimes aren't. And I definitely wasn't at all. I got in fist fights with my sisters. I got in fist fights with my mother, who is wonderful, would literally do anything for me. And I knew that in the back of my mind. But if she said the least little thing off that set me off, knockout, drag out kind of fights. I said and did a lot of hurtful things then. I fell into a group of kids that acted the same way. It was not a great situation. I actually even got to a point to where I was cutting on my legs, because I have a family that it was definitely not going to be approved of if I came home with my wrists done and stuff. So I'd do it on my legs to try and hide it. And a lot of people don't know that about me. Guys, this is really hard to talk about, because I've never really spoke out about that. And it took a long time for my parents to pick up on that. When Mom finally realized that my legs were always like that, and that I was always wearing pants, she was like, what's the deal? It got that bad. And it was all derived from my depression that came from PCOS. So from there, I ended up having to go to a nurse practitioner that worked with me taking anxiety medications. And as a teenager, you do not want to be called crazy. So I fought against that tooth and nail. I was like, you're not going to call me crazy. You're not going to make me be on psycho meds. You're not going to this, that, and the other. That is not what it is. If you are in that stage in your life and you're trying to figure out what the next step is for you, take the medicine. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign that you're crazy. It's strength, honestly. It's you reaching out, getting the help that you need so that you can be happy and you can be you. Because anybody who has went through anxiety and depression knows that you feel like you are absolutely just drowning, watching yourself, and can't save yourself. And it's like you're screaming for help without actually saying anything, but you feel like you are. Like, you should see that I'm drowning too, right? And when you don't get that help, it sinks you even more. You feel like you're not loved, you're not cared for, that you're invisible, that you just don't matter a thing in the world. It is an awful feeling, and I would not wish anxiety and depression on my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. It's horrible. So if there's anybody watching this that's struggling with these issues, or are having thoughts of, that you're not good enough, or that it's just not worth it anymore, please, if you don't have somebody to reach out to, talk to me, comment to me. We can talk. Everybody needs a little help. And like I said, I've went through it with it. I promise you, I have been at the highest highs in my life and the lowest lows in my life. And I struggled to talk when I was at my lows. It's really easy to go to somebody when you're super happy and excited and have all these things going in your life that are just great. But when you hit rock bottom, your pride kind of kicks in a little bit. I don't need help. I don't want people to think that I'm weak, or, that something's wrong with me, and that's not it. If you are chemically imbalanced, that's not your fault. It's a health issue. You need to get the help. And sometimes that help is simply just talking to someone, getting it off your chest, getting it off your mind, and having someone talk back to you, give you some positivity, give you some ideas of what you can do. So like I said, if anybody ever needs to talk, please feel free to reach out. Obviously, I'm okay talking about it. I'm struggling a little bit with it. I'm on the verge of tears, and I'm not one to cry in front of people, so I'm really trying to hold it together for you guys. But it just really upsets me to know that if I went through it, obviously others are. And I would hate to see anybody go through that. I hate seeing people go through that. It's a rough road. It really is. And I just want, if anything from this is picked up for me, you have somebody to talk to. I'm here. I promise you couldn't tell me anything or any thought that you're having that I probably haven't had myself. It was rough. So, once they diagnosed me with depression, they did end up putting me on Lexapro. And that helped for a very long time. I took that through high school. But at some point, I guess my body became immune to it. And we had to start changing. And it took a long time to find something that actually worked. So there was times through high school, like I said, super high highs. But then there was also times when my medicine wasn't working, or I was off medicines, like in between things, that my lows were low. I am a very blunt, spitfire kind of person. So when I was in those black stages of my life, as I like to call them, the bluntness was still there. And nothing I had to say was nice. It didn't take much for me to spit at you and tell you that, not actually spit, but like just spit off at people and just tell them that they were crap and that they were awful. I didn't like them. I didn't want them near me, didn't want them in my life, didn't want them talking to my sisters, didn't want them talking to my friends, whatever the situation may have been. I was very quick. When I was in those lows, you didn't mess with me because I wasn't having it. And I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, there was times that I was awful. Absolutely awful. There are incidences that I can recall that I am so ashamed of. So if I ever in the past did something wrong to you, I'm so sorry. And I don't want to blame everything on depression and stuff. But I mean, it really was. And I had PCOS to thank for that. The more off my hormones were, the worse my depression felt. And at times it just was too much. Now there was other times that I could have been your best friend. We went out, we had fun, whatever. I was just a peach. It was day-to-day kind of deal. So yeah, if you have somebody in your life, or if it's even you, that's kind of having those mood swings back and forth, and you have some of these other symptoms that I'm getting ready to talk about, you might want to ask your doctor if that PCOS could potentially be an issue for you, because 1 in 4 women have it. And that's a lot. That's a larger group than what you would think. And like I said before, 1 in 4 women have this incurable disease. it's just mind-blowing that so many women are going through it and there's nothing you can do about it. It's so sad. So another thing growing up that I struggled with was weight. I still do. Your girl be curvy. And I finally gotten to a point now that I am who I am. I love me, and if you don't, that's alright. There's 7-some billion other people in the world. Somebody won't care that I'm a little bigger than they are. If you do, I don't have time for you. That's just how I feel about it. I've really gotten in a better place with my own self-image lately. I know I'm not perfect. I'd love to, you know, lose weight or whatever. And this is the body that God gave me, so I'm going to learn to be happy in it. And I'm doing better and better with that with each passing day. And I think that that's the best that you can do with life. You deal with the cards that you've been handed. I don't think anybody's meant to be put on this earth to be miserable or to feel bad about themselves. So you just find what you like about yourself and focus on that. And the rest is just whatever. Just let it slide. No one's perfect. No one. Absolutely no one. So back to the weight gain. That is also a side effect of PCOS. It's really easy when you have PCOS to gain weight, specifically around your midsection. And it's really hard to lose the weight. So I've been on diets. I've been on crash diets. I've been on doctor-assisted diets. I've been on, you know, the smoothie trend and the, you know, all this stuff. The no carbs, low carbs, you know, the only eat fruits and water for a week and all this different stuff. I've tried it all. I promise you, I've done it all. And yeah, I'll lose the weight. But then at some point I get at a standstill, and that standstill lasts for a month or two, and then I start gaining weight. So I gain back everything that I lost and some. And that's just always how it's been. When I was in my junior year of high school, in between junior year and senior year, I lost 85 pounds. Oh, and I felt so good about myself. And I kept it off through my senior year, graduated, and then that summer, I ended up having several things happen in my life that caused stress and this, that, and the other. And anybody who's had stress knows that it makes you gain weight. And on top of that, I have the PCOS that helps you retain the weight. So I packed it all back on and added about 20 extra pounds on with it. And I tried to crash diet with that. Couldn't lose it, couldn't lose it, couldn't lose it. So I finally just gave up. I was like, whatever. It just is what it is. And a lot of this also is because of another symptom of the PCOS, and that's insulin resistance, which can also turn into pre-diabetes or diabetes 2 if you're not really careful. So basically with insulin resistance, your body thinks that you're not getting any insulin, so anything that you put in your mouth, it's storing. So it's overstoring when your body thinks that it's not getting any. So that's where the issue with the weight comes. And that's a real problem with PCOS. Pretty much everyone with PCOS deals with this symptom, and it sucks. Like I've said before, PCOS sucks. And that's the best way I know how to put it, and I hope that no one's offended by that, because you never know what anybody's going to be offended about in 2019. But it sucks. I mean, that's just what it is. A couple other things that you have issues with is hair loss from your head. But then you have hair gain, you know, like I get these sideburn kind of deals, and some people deal with like chest hair. I don't thankfully deal with that, but some women do. Arm hair, got it. I can shave my legs in the morning, and by lunchtime there's already stubble again. You know, mustaches, you know, little that peach fuzz crap that comes in, and so you get hair everywhere you don't want it, and then you're losing hair from your scalp. Can we please reverse that? That would be so great. I would love to have luscious long locks, but no, that's not how it is. My hair is so fine and so stringy, and it falls out like crazy, and it's all because of PCOS. A couple other things that comes with PCOS is like acne and skin tags. I have skin tags in different places, and I always get them removed because they drive me nuts. But skin tags can be a sign of PCOS. acne can be a sign of PCOS. And I don't mean just like a little pimple that comes up every now that you can kind of pop and it goes away sort of deal. I'm meaning cystic acne. Hard as a rock, sore as can be acne. That you can't pop because there's nothing in it. It comes up and it stays for months at a time sometimes. And it's not always on your face either. Sometimes it'll be like I've had one behind my ear before, that really hurt. I've had them on my chest before, those really hurt. You can get it in your groin, those really hurt. I've gotten them under my chest. But the worst one, the worst place is your armpits. And I'm telling you, I get them in my armpits all the time. And they rub and they burn and they hurt so bad. Some days you just want to like lay there with your arms straight up with a fan like on them because they get so hot and so sore. If you've never had one, be grateful, because they are the worst thing that you could possibly ever have. Anyone who's had cystic acne, I'm there for you because it is painful. It is not just your regular little zit. That's not what I'm talking about. So another thing, moving on because I know I'm getting up on time, is insomnia. And I know insomnia can come from a lot of other things like sleep apnea and all this stuff. But insomnia can be a sign of PCOS. And your girl have it. I do not sleep well at all. I lay down and it's just like a flood of thoughts. You know, did I do this? Did I not do this? Should I get back up and finish this? You know, sometimes I'll be laying there and I'll be thinking about something that I said when I was in high school, you know, 12 years ago or whatever. And I'm like, I didn't state that right. Should I, you know, contact this person that I've not talked to in 12 years to clarify a fight that we had all those years ago? Because I didn't state it the way that I should have. Yeah, those kind of things. Or little just nitpicky things like, did I remember to put my shoes in my closet last night? Or, did I remember to turn the light off in the kitchen? Or, you know, did I actually switch that laundry over before I came and laid down? Or just little piddling crap that probably don't even matter. If the light's on, whatever. It's on. We'll turn it off in the morning. It's not that big of a deal, but for me, I fixate on it. So I had to get up, truck through the house, see what all I've forgotten to do. Then I lay back down, and then I get sidetracked with, because I'm like, okay, well now I'm up because I've gotten up, got my blood going again, and I can't sleep. So I jump into the wonderful world of YouTube, and my sleeping husband, I'm like, hey, look at this goat. He sounds just like a baby. Or whatever it is. I just get so sidetracked I cannot sleep. It's an issue. So if you're having issues with insomnia, along with some of these other issues, it might be worth looking into. But yeah, if you've never heard about PCOS, here's a little bit of what you go through. Like I said, there's a lot of other stuff too. But I'm already at like 30 minutes, you guys, so I'm going to try and wrap this up. That's all I'm going to talk about today. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out. If you need someone to talk to, definitely reach out. But yeah, I'm going to try to continue talking about this a little bit more. At some point going to get more in depth with different issues that I have, because also another issue is infertility. I didn't want to start that in this one though, because that's a whole another beast of its own, because that's what I'm dealing with right now. So I just wanted to give you a backstory on like how I found out that I'd gotten diagnosed with PCOS, give you a few little tidbits on things that people with PCOS deal with and that kind of thing. But hopefully I've been informative. Hopefully it helps someone. If you need someone to talk to, I'm always here. And I hope you guys look forward to hearing more about it. Because it's gonna come regardless. I have a lot on my mind, a lot of stress in my life, and I need to just free myself of that a little bit. Like I said in my initial video, it's time to add some positivity in my life. It's time to trash some of the negativity in my life, and this is the outlet I've chose to do that on. So hopefully you guys want to, you know, tag along on this journey with me. I would greatly appreciate it if you did, and it's always nice to feel like you've got somebody in your corner, and And to you guys too, if you need someone in your corner, I'm your girl. Holler at me and I will do my very best to help you through whatever you need. Even if that's just to be like, hey, you're not alone. Because you're not. I promise. I've been there. I'm still there sometimes. But I think too, I want to end this with, no matter how hard you're struggling, always be grateful that you're still here, because the alternative isn't good. God has you on this planet for a reason. You might not see it right now. You might be up to here in stress and depression and anxiety. You'll get through it. Get the help you need. Talk about it. Work through it. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you happier in the end to realize that you got through it. God has a plan for you. God has a plan for all of us. And I more and more see that along my journey. It's not always easy. I'm not always patient enough for his plan. It's like, hurry up. But it's there. So just lean on your faith a little bit. God will direct you. None of us are put on this earth to suffer our entire lives. But I think also sometimes you go through struggles so that the triumphs feel that more joyous. And that's just how I try to look at things. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. You just got to be willing to look for it. And like I put on my page, just always remember that shattered glass still sparkles. You know, glass is shiny, and when it falls and breaks, you think, oh crap, it's just all these little pieces, it's worthless now. But if you gather those pieces and you put it in the sun, it's still going to shine. It's still going to be something beautiful. So just because you've been through something and you're a little more broken than you was before, doesn't mean you're damaged goods. There's still beauty inside of you. I know that's hard to see sometimes, and I know that when you're going through difficult times, it's hard to hear that as well. But I promise, there's still beauty in you. No one is permanently damaged. There's always something good to find in you. You just got to be willing to take the time to find the beauty. So always remember, you're sparkling, no matter what you've been through. I'm just going to leave you guys with that note. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys will subscribe, like, and share. And I hope that you guys have a great day. Bye, guys.